you guys. It's good to be back here with y'all. So just coming off of Saturday, just excited for the win, excited for our team and our coaches. Recognizing the work that they've put in. I think of just our recruiting class and people that look at the program and want to put faith into it and belief into it. I think of them. I think of our coaches and our support staff and their families and the time that they're putting into us. I think of them. I think of the senior group that we got and all the fights that they've been in and all the coaching staffs that they've been through. I think of them. And I think of kind of what this team has gone through since January in terms of trying to build a culture and a team. And so I'm happy for that. In looking at it, a lot of the tape is ugly to look at. And it's tough to kind of put both feet in the ground and own up to certain parts of that tape. And so I think just having been in this space before, you'd rather take a win than a loss in this circumstance, but a whole bunch of chance for us to get better, and we're aiming to do that. And what a great opponent this week. Talented, on the rise. I think Oklahoma State's got a great identity now, so excited for that matchup. Take any questions you guys got.
Dave, I guess update on Terrell.
So he got scoped this morning, and I think the hope is could possibly be back this week, most likely back for West Virginia. Could be worse than that depending on what they find in the scope, and so we're in a wait and see mode. And so once they're out of it, we'll have an idea of where it's at.
I also wanted to ask you about Matt Jones, just the way he's played, and maybe how you've seen him grow.
Yeah, I think Matt has continued to be a team player. I think Matt has really played too many positions and out of a need for us, and has done it without complaint, and has done it full throttle, which I appreciate and love about Matt. I think there's a football instinct in him and a desire to make plays in him that's way strong, and I appreciate. I think the maturity with Matt is still a process, and so I think playing green, as we call it, and free and all of it without committing penalties, I think is a big step for him coming up. But I think his ability to provide us with four-man pass rush, his ability to make calls at the linebacker spot, get people lined up, and go sideline to sideline and all of it, and fill in for one of our better players is a whole other thing, and he's doing it all right now. And so, defensively, we're in debt to him, and look forward to this next week with him just settling down and really kind of trying to focus on one thing.
Dave, is there a plan in place if you don't have Terrell? What have y'all talked through some things of? Does Matt stay at will, that kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, Matt will be working inside, and I think there's still opportunity for him to be outside, but in a much more limited role. And so I think inside we count on Dylan Doyle taking a really strong leadership role. We would count on Will Williams taking more of a role there. And so we're asking for all of our guys to kind of step up in that stead if we don't have Terrell.
Dave, you addressed it the other day after the game, but how big was winning that field position battle in that game? And do you guys do anything as coaches to kind of recognize that part of the game among the team?
We do, yeah. We've got things that we talk about that we want to win throughout the game. And so that could be anywhere from winning a turnover battle to no missed assignments or foolish penalties to create big plays or limit big plays, to run the ball, stop the run, win third down. win goal line or red zone, and then win the kicking game is a big one. And so that was one that we made a big emphasis going into that week and going into that game, was that piece and just the thought of just our athletes. We felt good about the matchup. We felt good about the schematics and how the math was adding up there. And so it's just a point of execution. And so, I think it's over 100 yards hidden yardage, which when you look at, our total yards, their total yards, the penalty yards, and then you add the hidden yardage, that's where we start to even up the numbers. And so, huge part in the game.
Dave, Garmin Randolph recognized by the Big 12 today. What has he brought? What does he add to the defense?
Well, I just go for an example, I go to that very last play where, it's a mishandled snap and Purdy comes out, and so it's a bootleg, and I want to say Garmin's right there. And so, if I was there, right, it'd be a little bit different, arm length than Garmin. And so having to throw over that, I think that forces an errant throw, and there's more air under it, and then, JT can do what he does. And so I think there's pieces of that all littered throughout that game of just his length setting edges, his length on pass rush, and then his length in windows in zone coverage. And so we'll continue to grow in that space and get him more reps. And I think, whether it is this next game or just anytime we're facing an offense that's going to put tight ends on the field, right? You like having a guy that could play that position as well on the other side of it, athletically and lengthwise. And, Garmin's going to really be big for us moving forward.
Dave, what do you see from Oklahoma State's defense? Looks like they played pretty well.
They play fast. They have a lot of guys up the line of scrimmage. Their defensive coordinator I've met with quite a bit and have a lot of respect for him. I think I like the way he breaks things down and he thinks about stuff and is a deep thinker when it comes to football and all of it, and good dude. And so, he's one of the guys in the profession I'm always rooting for, and so I respect him greatly. I think he lets his guys loose, and so there'll be more pressure in this game than there was considerably in the last one. A lot more man coverage and a lot more zero coverage. And so in this last game we played, not a lot of press, not a lot of man. It's almost reversed now, and so I think there's a greater potential for, bad play or really good play, right? And so for us to kind of get that math on our terms is going to be a big part in the game. I think, we talk about identity, like O-line and D-line leading the way. This is going to be a major factor. Our O-line slowing down their rush and their ability to disrupt.
Do you believe you started the last 2 games with the same O-line? Do you believe you've firmed up on your offensive line starters?
I think so. I feel good about where they're at. I think Khalil Keith is still a guy that could potentially get into that spot. I think that right tackle spot is still being pursued. We had Gavin Byers do some positive things. I think he's still learning and growing. And I think Khalil, his race is a little bit different than Gavin. His was more consistency and dependability. And so I think, we'll see who can finish the race first.
Does it mean anything to you guys as a team to be ranked in the top 25?
No. I can recognize that from an outside perspective. I think for us, it's a Tell the Truth Monday. It's, we're completely in the grind, and so I think having staff meetings and then having academic meetings after that, and guys are asking questions on how can we get this D to a C and how can we get this C to a B or an A, and just to really be just enveloped in the details of just doing simple better and getting better with what we do is, I think, where we want it all to be.
You guys are leading the Big 12 in fourth down conversions, 8 of 9. That leads to not as many punts as usual, but can you talk about the fact that Iowa State kind of underestimated the power of Issac Power and just what he brought to that game and all in all this season?
Yeah, it was a complete change of field position, but then it was a change of momentum. You know, we've been in games before where it's been a punt, it's been a maybe a kickoff cover that when offense and defense is lacking, where you protect, you punt, you cover, and all of a sudden momentum gets on your side. And so that was completely what was happening on Saturday, was that we needed a pick-me-up, and you know, who would think it would come off of a punt, but that's what it was. And so our sideline got some energy off of that, and we were able to infuse that to you know, the next unit taking the field.
Dave, y'all had a really good first half offensively in the last game. What do you have to do to maybe kind of get back to that level compared to the second half?
I think we've got it. I think there is, whether there were the ball security issues, I think those things hampered and led to other things. And so I think, you know, we talk about quite a bit, it's a game of random events and setbacks. And, you know, what a great analogy and way to look at it, you know, football, as, you know, applying it to life, and just the resilience and the learner's mindset and everything. But I think it's one thing to see it up on a screen or to hear it. It's quite another to be in it, you know. And so I think there was a fair amount of that happening on Saturday with a couple guys on offense. And so I think, you know, their response, I think, was good. I think we will be better for it. And so I think that was a major piece of the second half.
Dave, going into a night game of Boone Pickens, do you acknowledge or prepare for what that atmosphere is going to be like?
Anticipate it being loud, anticipate the tight quarters. I think we've got practice with some noise. You watch their film when they're at home, and they jump the silent counts of people. You know, so there's folks that will hand clap and all that to snap the ball, and there's safeties rushing from 10 yards back, timing it up. And so, you know, there is a home field advantage there. And so we'll, from the very start with that.
Coach, Spencer Sanders coming off a great game on Saturday. What do you see from him? What do you guys need to do to be able to stop him?
There's growing confidence with him. You know, right away you can see his legs and his ability to create. You know, he gets into red zone and critical must-have areas, and now all of a sudden a zone read or a running back run becomes a quarterback keep. And so they save the best for last in terms of the closer they get. But then, you know, a lot of his receivers are getting back. And so, you know, they are a team where if they see, and you can go to our game last year as evidence of this, if they see a one-on-one outside, they're going to take it. Where there's less and less teams in our league that are inclined to do that. I think this league used to be full of teams like that. I think Oklahoma State's one of the remaining few that think that way and take advantage of it. And so we're anticipating that.
The pressure you guys put on Brock Purdy, were you pretty pleased with that? And do you feel like y'all can maybe build off that?
I thought there was a good plan, and I thought that piece was executed well. I thought the finish we can improve on, and I think it's been consistent from week one till now of us getting. I think there has been pressure, and we haven't finished the pressure, you know, in terms of the quarterback getting out and eluding. There's a few times where Brock did some amazing things and then completed a pass and continued to drive and all of it. And so, you know, we have to drill that better, and we have to be real with the stuff that's real and acknowledge it, drill it, and get better with it. I think we work on the finish aspects of the pressure package that we've got, then I think our pressure numbers will increase.
Dave, as we look back at those offensive numbers in the second half, what do you feel like really contributed to the struggle? And do you feel like y'all were maybe a little too conservative with play calling there late in the game?
No, I think some of what we mentioned before, I think some of the negative things that happened earlier in the game, I think lingered throughout the game. And there were feelings of that on the sidelines, and we could address it and try to get better with it. And I think it was still a fight. I thought the later the game got, the more pressure that you're dealing with. And so I think guys were trying to make plays as opposed to working on the execution, letting the plays come to them. I think that's an area that I take responsibility for, because you can talk about that, but when you're in it, it's something else entirely. And so now that we've experienced that, we can improve from that. But I'm very confident about the next time we're in a spot like that, we'll be much better.
Dave, Robert Griffin III is in the broadcast booth this week. What significance might that have for you or this program?
I'm a big fan of his. I think he's spoken to the team before, and outside of everything that he's done as a player, just a super person. I have to imagine everyone in here has knows him, has some form of relationship with him, and just a quality heart. And when he spoke to the team just about being a better person and how important character is, and being a good teammate, I think his words in that space was just so strong, and it's stuff we still refer to now. And so I appreciate that. I think it's going to be it'll be a cool day for Baylor for that to happen.
You said that to take that next step, y'all have to win. I think it was the turnover and the penalties.
Mm-hmm.
How do you take that step? Because I know you have officials out here and all that, but how do you clean that up, I guess?
Yeah, so I think we're going to do some different things in terms of emphasizing ball security at the start of practice, and then throughout practice. We'll have a lot more opportunities where guys have balls in their hands, and guys will be making attempts at it. Make a greater emphasis throughout our team periods of asking for that, and we're really demanding that. And then I think, penalty-wise, I think having really strong, at the end of the day, kind of a count of who did this and who did that, and then having repercussions for that. I think, for us to fight for that game and then almost give that game away is not acceptable. And so our ability to limit that and just be who we can be in the most stressful competitive moments, that's the challenge. And right now what's standing in our way is penalties.
Jalen Warren has been a workhorse for them in their running game. What do you see from him?
Physical, explosive. It's like he's got a turbo pack on back there, man, when he gets the ball. And so he jumps off the screen. And so he has been the difference in their offense, really. And so, I think a lot of wide zone, similar to us, a lot of shot plays. They will get into formations where they make you choose whether you're going to defend the run or defend the pass, and then based upon your choice, it's an easy choice for them. And so it's a great challenge. I think their physicality combined with their skill on the perimeter, that's what I think of when I think of their offense.
After an emotional, physical game last week, how hard is it to flush something like that out of your system? And do you feel like the guys have done that coming into this week?
I think so. Yeah, I think it is about day by day. It is about trying to be intentional about getting the most out of the time that we've got. I think people value the value that you provide, and not the time spent. And so I think knowing what you're doing it for, what's your why, and being really intentional about I'm going to get this out of what I'm doing. I think that's the key, and that's a that's an everyday thing, man, right? And so it continues.
David, it seemed like Al Walcott
Mhm.
had a big presence in that game.
Mhm.
Did you see that kind of coming, I guess?
Yeah, Al was one of the guys at the very end that I wish just made a better decision than what he did. But I think, I pull back and I look at just Al from when he got here to where he's at now and the steps that he's taken to really mature, to find his voice. Meeting with our learning specialist, man, he's communicating. He's letting them know how he feels. In the past, he would kind of hold back on all of it and put on a face. And, I think he's really getting comfortable and allowing people to see him. I think sometimes you kind of put stuff up so that you protect yourself, but you can't be seen either. So it's cool to finally kind of meet Al, and so I'm happy for him. I think a lot of what we do is for stuff like that, and he's on the right path. I think he's making plays, and so we're going to continue to see more from him.